Teenage girl walked out of a house in Mill Creek 50 years ago. She never came home. Nancy Wilcox was serial killer Ted Bundy's first known Utah victim.
Bundy confessed to the killing, but Wilcox's body was never found, and that's allowed myth to shroud the true story of her murder. KSL's Dave Cawley has an exclusive look into the Nancy Wilcox case file.
It's been 50 years since Susie Nelson last saw her sister Nancy.
That's all I saw, her going out of the house, down the driveway, and then we didn't see her again. It always bothered me because I've read all these articles throughout the years, and they always said she was a runaway.
Ted Bundy abducted Nancy Wilcox right from this neighborhood, but you won't find that story in these Bundy books. These writers didn't pay much attention to Nancy Wilcox, and most of what they did write about her was wrong.
I was frustrated by how much misinformation was out there.
Tiffany Jean is a professional archivist and researcher. She knows when it comes to Bundy, folklore can overshadow the facts.
I wanted to know the real story. I wanted to know what actually happened. And the only way to do that would be to get the case file.
Tiffany won a public records fight with Unified Police in 2021. She's the first person to get a copy of the Nancy Wilcox case file. And it tells a different story than the one you might have read.
There's misinformation out there about even when she was last seen.
Utah's cold case website says Nancy Wilcox disappeared on October 2nd. That's wrong.
Her parents reported her missing that day, but she had actually disappeared the night before.
A minor mistake, but it's not the only one.
The website says Wilcox was a cheerleader here at Olympus High. Easily disproven just by looking at this old Olympus yearbook or by talking to Wilcox's sister.
No, she wasn't. And they always said that she was, and a cheerleader from Olympus High, and I was actually the cheerleader in Evergreen.
The folklore says Wilcox was last seen with a man in a yellow VW. That comes from a tip about a look-alike 2 months after Wilcox disappeared. It wasn't her.
Nancy Wilcox had already been murdered by Ted Bundy.
That didn't keep the story from catching on, along with others.
One story says Bundy stalked Wilcox here at her work. It is true, a man bothered Wilcox at her job in the summer of '74. She even filed a police report about it.
She said that he had offered her a ride home, which she'd accepted, and that he had taken her to his house and sexually assaulted her. She made a report to the police, and it was described as unfounded accusation.
Credit card receipts show Bundy was in Washington State when this happened, and
Ted Bundy was not the man that she had identified in her report.
the case file has the facts. So why is folklore taken hold?
No one's had access to the case file.
Until now. Tiffany's published it on her blog, A Killer in the Archives, sharing the truth with the public and Wilcox's family.
You know it's always there. I mean, you go every day, you think about it. It'll never go away.
That was Dave Cawley reporting. The Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office tells us they acknowledge the errors we've uncovered. They submitted a correction to the state, and the state says the cold case website has already been updated.